I'm sure just based on the title of this video alone, people are going to hate it. I get it. People love this anime. It's the new hotness. What I don't want anyone to think, though, is that this is just a video of me saying it's a bad show, because it isn't, and that isn't how I feel. My goal is simply to raise some questions about it. It's only by being critical of creative media that we can establish flaws to overcome and make everything better.
私に何か用ですか?随分慌てていらっしゃるようですが。
One thing I'd like to make crystal clear before we move on is my stance on the anime itself. When I was first being told about it from a friend, it was described to me as like Goblin Slayer, but with kids who are part demon.
Huh?
But as anyone who has seen the show can tell you, none of that description is accurate. To this day, I'm still not sure what type of crack he was smoking when he told me that. Needless to say, I came into episode 1 when it aired with all the wrong expectations. So I'll be honest, I didn't like the show at first. How could I? I went in expecting Goblin Slayer with cool traditional Japanese folklore demons. However, after a few episodes and a couple of rewatches, I came to enjoy the anime, and that enjoyment still stands today. Just because I enjoy something, though, doesn't mean I have to be blind to its flaws. Hell, some of my favorite anime are riddled with their fair share. I'd like to start by talking about what I call Attack on Titan syndrome, which I use to describe an anime that has some troubles with pacing. Not being too fast or too slow, but rather too rapidly shifting between the two. Attack on Titan is an anime that I'm sure people will be quick to hate me for calling out as well, but please understand that I'm not at all saying the entire show is bad, just that it has issues like all shows do. Episodes of Demon Slayer can at times feel like a roller coaster built by Michael J. Fox, with things either dragging out far too long or happening too quickly to have an impact. Let me give you some examples. Firstly, when Tanjiro meets Zenitsu, this interaction goes on and feels so grating. Not only are we being shown this character's worst traits during our initial viewing of him, we're seeing them drawn out far too long. Imagine if you were at a party and a friend introduced you to someone. Then instead of just saying hello and moving on, this person just decided to start forcing you to endure all their worst personality traits right then and there. You probably wouldn't enjoy that very much, which is why it puzzles me that they chose to introduce a pretty solid character this way. Why create this episode in such a way that a decent character gets hated by almost everyone who sees him? Contrast that with Inosuke, who is basically not introduced at all and just sort of walks into the thick of the shit without any setup. This to me was a very confusing choice, as both characters have roles of similar importance in the show, but are first shown to us in completely opposite ways. And I know they have different personalities and they may have been trying to highlight that, but I don't really think that came through. This is a problem not in any way unique to Demon Slayer. Many other anime suffer from this problem of inconsistent pacing sprinkled throughout the show. In terms of actual characters themselves, I don't find too much fault with them. For the most part, they're well written, and even characters with short screen time still manage to feel well balanced. I'm sure a lot of people would expect me when talking about characters to absolutely destroy Zenitsu, and I can understand why. He's a loud, overly whiny character who doesn't have enough positives yet to make up for the negatives. A few years or even months ago, I would have spent 20 minutes ripping into him and calling him a trash character. But as of today, I more so chalk it up to a cultural difference. Yes, it can be grating for Western viewers, but as this is a common trope in anime, it must be something that's more normal in Eastern media. He does have redeeming qualities, unlike some people. Next up, I want to talk about filler. Specifically the kind used in Demon Slayer, which is thankfully much more subtle than other anime, but still there. This is something you see a lot where anime will drag things out for far too long because they need to pad run times. Is it the worst thing in the world? No. But again, this is a video about raising questions, not saying the anime is bad. Let's look at a couple of examples to see how this goes down in actual episodes. One example is in episode 11, near the beginning during our first full scene with Zenitsu. This lasts only about 3 minutes, but of those 3 minutes, maybe 40 seconds are actual worthwhile knowledge, while the rest is just filler. Another example is episodes 19 and 20 with Rui, the lower 5th 12 moon demon guy. Information we just got is repeated to us in a slow, drawn-out manner. We already knew everything this character was about, so none of this was really needed. In terms of popular shonen anime, Demon Slayer is pretty good when it comes to filler, but sadly, not free of it entirely. To me, this is a good example of bad practices being snuck into an otherwise good show because producers know the community will largely ignore it. Writing is another area where the show stands out, to me at least. Shonen shows seem to be the most guilty of throwing good, consistent writing away for the sake of adding more over-the-top action. We have moments of error like with any massive project, but you wouldn't notice them unless you look deeper with several rewatches. Really, my only issue with it is the lack of explanation we get for things that seem very important. Keep in mind this is coming from the perspective of a show-only viewer. While I do know much of the manga, I'm staying in the mindset of the average person. It's said that demons gain strength from eating humans, but also that they consume other demons. When they drop that info, however, we aren't told if they benefit from eating demons or just do it because they want to. While this info might be given to us later on, it isn't given where it should be in my opinion, which is right after we're told that they cannibalize. Like I said, small things that go unnoticed by most, but could technically be seen as a flaw. Ending on a positive note, one thing I can't find fault with in this anime is the visuals. It's quite frankly stunning during fight scenes, and even in less important moments still manages to be visually striking. A refreshing style is what I believe to be this show's biggest drawing force to new viewers. I can't talk enough about how much I like this show's aesthetic and hope it continues to keep this high level of quality during its later episodes. Are any of these points enough to earn this show a rating lower than 5 stars? No. However, it's my personal belief that only by being critical of any and all flaws that we can raise the bar even higher for shows in the future. Please don't think I dislike this anime, because I absolutely do not. This show's pretty good, and leagues above most anime that share its genre. I hope that in the future more anime can replicate this level of quality. Yes, I called out nitpicky things in this video, but I hope by doing so, we can move closer to a show without flaws in the future. 90% of criticism comes from people who are passionate about something, and I'm no exception. I have a soft spot for shonen anime that gets exploited far too often. Hopefully you didn't find this video too offensive, and it made you think a little about minor flaws in some of your favorite media. Thanks for watching, and feel free to leave a comment condemning me for my opinions.